Another day of bigly courtroom drama for our former president, the orange one. This morning, Don Trump was back in the warm embrace of the American judicial system, the only place that truly loves and appreciates him.
Believe that already November.
It's already November. Can you believe it?
Can you believe it? Already November.
Jimmy Kimmel opened his show last night with a scathing monologue about former President Donald Trump and his mounting legal troubles. Kimmel wasted no time on roasting Trump's hush money case and the recent gag order imposed by the judge, as Donald Trump is drowning in legal troubles, but that's not stopping him from ranting online like a madman off his meds. With a mischievous glint in his eye, the late-night host turned his attention to the disgraced ex-president's mounting troubles. "So, what's going on with our favorite Florida retiree?" Kimmel asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Well, it seems that the man who once claimed he was so rich he didn't need anyone's money has found himself in a bit of a financial pickle." That's right, the self-proclaimed billionaire and noted grifter extraordinaire had to scrape together a whopping $175 million bond to stay out of jail. And how did he do it? By turning to a specialty insurance company run by a billionaire known as the king of subprime car loans. Kimmel couldn't resist himself mocking Trump's latest financial fiasco.
Donald Trump pulled a rabbit out of his MAGA hat. He managed to post that $175 million bond he couldn't get. He got one courtesy of the Knight Specialty Insurance Company, which I'm guessing did not Google the phrase, "Who is Donald Trump?" Somewhere there's a loan officer who just got called into his boss's office. "You loaned $175 million to who?" This is the man with the good sense to loan a lot of money to Donald Trump.
Kimmel then introduced the man behind the loan. Billionaire Don Hankey, also known as the king of subprime car loans.
There's a loan officer who just got called into his boss's office. "You loaned $175 million to who?" This is the man with the good sense to loan a lot of money to Donald Trump. There he is, the next owner of Mar-a-Lago, billionaire Don Hankey, also known as the king of the subprime car loans. Don Hankey, he sells loans to people with less than exceptional.
The audience roared with laughter as Kimmel painted a picture of the once mighty Trump reduced to begging for cash from a man who made his fortune, preying on the poor and...
Forbes said his company repossesses about 250 cars a day. Our former president got a loan from a repo man. And not just any run-of-the-mill repo man. His company is known for, what they do is they fake their caller ID so it looks like they're calling from a local pizza place, and then they pounce. I would love to be there to see Trump waiting at the door for a meat lover supreme.
It was a far cry from the image of wealth and success that Trump had carefully cultivated over the years. But Kimmel wasn't done twisting the knife just yet.
Trump waiting at the door for a meat lover supreme, only to find out his tower has been repossessed next door. Trump posted bond and then posted on Truth.
The thought of Trump's gaudy Florida estate being hauled away by a tow truck was almost too delicious to bear. After all, this was a man who had built his entire brand on the idea that he was too big to fail, too rich to be touched by the law. But as Kimmel so gleefully pointed out, even the mighty can fall when they're up to their eyeballs in debt and legal troubles. And Trump, it seems, is no exception. Of course, it's not like anyone should be surprised by this turn of events. Trump's entire life has been one long con, a never-ending shell game where he's always one step ahead of the law and his creditors. But here's what's most interesting. Mere hours after posting bond, Trump was back on his crappy Twitter knockoff Truth Social, raving that the New York charges are a fabricated election interference con job orchestrated by crooked Joe Biden. Today, please remember, all these lawsuits, charges, and indictments that have been brought against me have been orchestrated and coordinated by crooked Joe Biden, which I have to say I find particularly upsetting because crooked was his nickname for Hillary. All right? It was Crooked Hillary. And you can't just reassign a nickname. You can't have Magic Johnson and Magic Larry Bird. It doesn't work like that. This is just lazy. Donald Trumping is what it is. I know. You know what? And lazy Donald Trumping is really the only kind there is, isn't it? This is a guy who spends his days golfing, spreading lies on social media, hawking merch to rubes, and abusing the spray tan machine. The only thing he's got going for him is a decades-long streak of getting away with crimes, but that luck may finally be running out. But here's the thing. For a guy who's supposedly so tough, Trump is acting like a whiny little baby who got his rattle taken away. Kimmel put it perfectly. I know he's not ashamed of anything, but he should at least be ashamed of this. Trump also had the nerve to call the charges in his latest New York fraud case a fabricated election interference con job, which is just rich coming from him. He then launched into a fake game show bit playing both host and contestant. Allison, who is Donald Trump? Kimmel asked in his best Alex Trebek impression, answering his own question. This right here. Category was cheatiest golfer since she got it. The audience roared with laughter at Kimmel's quick wit and spot-on delivery. It was a perfect encapsulation of Trump's entire persona. A cheating, lying con artist who will say anything to avoid accountability. And really, isn't that what Trump's whole life has been? One big game of Jeopardy where the categories are things like fraud, corruption, and narcissism, and he always seems to have the right answer. Sorry to intervene, guys. I want to encourage you to stick around until the very end. By watching the full video, we can make sure that our message reaches both our die-hard progressive fans and our beloved MAGA crowd. After all, what's the point of roasting Trump if his most loyal supporters don't get to witness every glorious second of his humiliation? Kimmel couldn't help but marvel at Trump's ability to prioritize his sleaziness even as his legal troubles mount. But even with the walls closing in, Trump still finds time for his favorite pastime. Being a creep, he said with a mix of amusement and disgust. Donald Trump thinks a gag order is what Melania does when she sees him get out of the hot tub. Donald Trump thinks a gag order is what Melania does when she sees him get out of the hot tub. Kimmel quipped, his face contorting into a grimace as he painted a mental picture none of us wanted. The audience responded with a symphony of groans and uncomfortable chuckles, grateful for the laugh, but wishing they could bleach the image from their brains. But Kimmel wasn't done riffing on the former president's daily routine. When he's not busy ogling his own wife, the former president apparently spends most of his days ranting, raving, spray tanning, and golfing. Spent the whole day ranting and raving. That's how he spends most of his days now. Ranting, raving, spray tanning, and golf. But he did make a trip to Grand Rapids, Michigan, where even in times of strife, he did his best to cheer everyone up. The sarcasm dripped from Kimmel's voice as he mocked Trump's behavior, which seems more befitting of a petulant child than a grown man facing serious legal consequences. But then again, when has Trump ever acted like an adult? Incredibly, the twice-impeached ex-president managed to pry himself away from the tanning bed just long enough to grace Grand Rapids, Michigan with his presence. And in true Trump fashion, he used the opportunity to spread some good old-fashioned fear and treason. If we don't win on November 5th, Trump warned, his voice dripping with manufactured urgency, I think our country is going to cease to exist. It could be the last election we ever have. Kimmel couldn't believe what he was hearing. Wow, that's a really uplifting message for the people of Michigan, he said, shaking his head in disbelief. Nothing like threatening the end of democracy to really get the crowd going. But that's the thing about Trump. He thrives on chaos and division. He doesn't care about uniting the country or solving real problems. He just wants to keep his base angry and afraid, so they'll keep buying into his lies and funding his legal defense. It's a sick and twisted game, but it's one that Trump has been playing for years. And as long as he's got enablers in the Republican Party and a rabid fan base willing to believe anything he says, he'll keep right on playing it. So what does this all mean for America as the 2024 election draws near? Nothing good, unfortunately. Trump's legal peril is growing by the day, but his disciples are only getting more detached from reality. As Kimmel noted, these are dark times for our democracy. The rule of law is hanging by a thread, and conspiracy theories are spreading like wildfire. Comedians like him are using laughter to shine a light on the absurdity of it all. but that alone won't be enough to pull us back from the brink. At the end of the day, it's up to every one of us to stay engaged, speak truth to power, and never stop demanding better from our leaders. The future of our country depends on it. It won't be easy, but if we look to brave voices like Kimmel for inspiration, we just might have a shot. He's shown us that even in the darkest of times, humor can be a powerful tool for sparking outrage and stirring people to action. So, let's follow his lead and never stop calling out the bullshit, no matter how exhausting it gets. Because if we surrender to the stupidity now, we may not get another chance to save this beautiful, messy, maddening experiment in democracy we call America. The joke's on us if we let the punchline be the death of truth itself.